Start streaming. All right, are we good? Are we good? Testing, testing. Okay, yeah, I think we're good. What screen am I actually? Okay. I don't know if it's back yet. Yeah, this first run is an absolute shit show. And it's complaining about the signal again. That's great. Okay, good. All right. Sorry about that. So apparently my internet went out and I don't know what the hell happened. My router just crapped out on me for some reason, so I had to like reset that in the modem. But yeah, it looks like things might be good now, hopefully. I kind of knew this crap was gonna. Aw, you fucking serious? My internet's out again. Wow. I can't even I can't even handle two viewers, really? Wow. I can barely like hold a connection. What is going on? All right, I'm gonna turn off DVR. Maybe that makes it a lot better. This is embarrassing. This is terrible. It seems like once I get more than a single viewer, like it just goes out. Yeah, this is crazy. I might need to the next time when I try to stream use a lesser bit rate. I'm gonna try to see about doing that next time because what I'm doing right now is just terrible. Yeah, I'm gonna have to like watch my connection in order for me to make sure the stream doesn't go off again. I don't even remember what I was talking about before this. Oh, it was this. Okay. If I remove that, so I have UTC hour and UTC min, and because I'm lazy, I'm going to say UTC hour, UTC min. That way I can just get rid of this. Well, I can actually set the time of day. If I say, oh crap, okay. Hopefully my internet doesn't go out again. If I say, I can remove that too. Let me know in the comment section if you guys can even hear me or see anything because it's gone out like 2 times already and I don't really know what's going on. Looks like I got a couple of viewers, so hopefully it's working. Okay. The cool thing about the I'm just gonna hope that it works and ignore it. My Wi-Fi just went down by a bar. Great. The cool thing about the actual programming language is when you start building your own programming language, you can kind of control everything. So this is one of the big reasons, and I've mentioned it a while ago in one of my videos, but whenever you're building a programming language, it's best to try to build as much in-house as possible, as big of a pain in the ass it might be, because it can actually end up making things a lot easier down the road if you just kind of go over the initial hump of trying to take the leap and code everything yourself. Because now, like for instance, the source code that's supposed to be running on the Raspberry Pi is actually running on my computer right now, and I can literally just compile and test all this source code, or not, maybe not test it, but I can compile it and run it without really having to like compile it on the Raspberry Pi because it takes forever. It takes like 5 minutes to compile all this source code on the Raspberry Pi. I think the drone source code now is like 100 plus files or something like that. It's pretty huge. Because I have like the GPIO stuff, the networking library, which has a bunch of things in it, and then, of course, the UI stuff as well. And then you also have to consider the support API or the support library as well. Like when you compile that, you have to compile all of those files. That's one of the things that I wanted to actually fix though in the language because right now the language literally compiles everything, which is just terrible. That's a horrible way of doing it. So eventually I want to, hopefully I can make a video about it, but basically only include the stuff that you use inside the actual executable file. So I'm gonna try and do that. That's gonna be pretty hard though. I still don't know how exactly that's gonna work. So I'm still figuring that part out. I'm gonna actually try to compile this code and see if it works. So, it's another thing I didn't mention in one of my videos is you can actually use this like little compilation box here to literally not have to set this because I have like this little variable here where I say whether or not I'm compiling the virtual machine or the compiler, and it's a huge pain in the ass to have to flip back and forth. So if you want to actually just stay in one mode where you're compiling the virtual machine, you can also run the sharp compiler at the same time, which is kind of cool. What what did I do wrong? Could not resolve VMO because I have to, what is that in platform.kernel? I can put the compiler. I should probably put the compiler in debug mode. See what's going on. I actually think it's not even compiling the source code. Yeah, it's compiling the other crap. Okay, so I have to, crap. Where's the, so I have to do copy, what is it, absolute path? Yeah. And then paste in this, set it as a library, absolute path, controller, copy the absolute path. For if any of you guys are new to the stream, you can always put your questions in the comment section in the chat, then I can respond to them. Because the stream broke, the last stream broke, so I don't even know if these are the same viewers. So I'll just mention it again just in case. But if you have any questions about like life or stuff in general, just put them in the comment section and I'll respond to them. I think that's everything. Also, too, if you'd want to see me do something in the programming language, I mean, this would be the perfect time. I can literally just compile or I can push up any local changes that I have for the virtual machine. What the heck? Oh, it's just too long. I can push up any local changes for the virtual machine. And if you guys want to see me like hypothetically, how would I program something? Then I mean, I'd be open to do that as well. So if you guys want to like see how would you do this, if I wanted to implement this feature, if it's something I could do in less than 30 minutes, then we can just kind of see how I'd actually do it. So I think that'd be pretty cool too if you want to see any of that. I got a bunch of syntax errors, don't I? Could not resolve TMO. Is that wait, no, I'm using the, I spelled minute wrong. Oh, it's minutes. Okay, that makes sense. I want to edit this file. I want to edit all files in this directory. I want to edit any non-project files. Yeah, that's what I want. And is it hours with an S or is it just hour? Okay. Um, could not resolve symbol T. Oh yeah, that's just a repeat error. Yep, another repeat error. Hour. I'm gonna just comment out that code. Let's see real time is equal to time hour. What is this UTC hour? I should probably have, yeah, real time at 0. Well, what just happened to the chat? Just freaking disappeared. What the heck just happened? Okay, all right. So I'm seeing comments now. So sorry if you like put it in there like I don't know how long ago and I just didn't see it. Um, what's up, Marcin? Marcin? I don't want to butcher your name, so no disrespect, but I'm terrible with processing or pronouncing names. Um, but you said maybe also a bigger font. Okay, I can actually update that. So I know sometimes this font is kind of small, so it might be a little hard to see. Font, JetBrains, maybe 16, I guess. Would that work? Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely bigger. Let me know if that is better. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back here. So I'm gonna rerun this and try to get the actual result. What is this? What is that? Okay. And it's complaining about could not resolve get OS time. What? That doesn't make any sense. That's in the time class, right? Did I name it something else? Get OS time. Oh, okay. Cool. So that works. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions or stuff you'd like for me to show you guys, or like if I don't know I've done like a crap ton of videos on this programming language and how to build it, but if you want to see me kind of rehash or like re-go over something, I could go a little bit more in detail in this video. So let me know if that's something you want to see as well. So just whatever. Um, why is it complaining about that? Could not. Maybe it's because I don't have the time class. No, that's in the STD library. Doesn't make any sense. Just gonna copy this. Maybe I misspelled it or something. No, I didn't. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Oh, that's because, okay. Yeah. You know what? I'm just gonna make it a time request. Time request. It was trying to, I didn't cast it to an actual var. It was trying to like use the actual time request field instead of the actual var, which makes sense. Raspberry drone. Did this one actually, I don't know if they both changed the font settings. Let me see if the second one does too. Okay, so they both do it. Cool, cool. Uh, I am building the interpreter, my stuff's advanced. For now, I don't have any good questions. That's all right. I mean, I could still just kind of go through various things. So I said it in the previous stream, but I don't even know if it went through because I have no idea when the stream cut off. I was just talking and then I realized I had no internet. So I'll just mention it again. So apologize if I'm repeating. But I was supposed to put out a video today. It's like an hour-long video. It's talking about the exception system, and the exception system is overly convoluted. I've been delaying that video for good reason because it's just really confusing. Um, it's pretty much modeled based off of the Java virtual machine. So I'm actually going to try to see if I can search where I actually found that code. So it's called exception. Yeah, I did this search. No, exception class, Java implementation. So as I'm like building this programming language, I know I've mentioned it a couple times before, but where I was actually like using or I was replicating my source code based off of the Java virtual machine. So right now I'm just basically looking, it's on a different screen. Can you guys actually, yeah, no, you can't see it. It's on a different screen, but I'm looking for the actual file where I actually look at the JDK source code, uh, thread class implementation maybe. Java thread class has to be here somewhere. Okay, all right, so I found it. All right, so let me bring this over here. So with the, this is kind of what I use. So whenever I try to like look for something in the actual Java virtual machine, whenever I'm like actually trying to compare source code to see if I'm actually doing things correctly, I'll just typically type in Java thread source code, and that'll bring me to this first link, which is a link to the Java virtual machine JDK 8 source code. And this is actually the official source code by Oracle, where this is the stuff that actually runs on the Java virtual machine. So it's not in the best format. It's kind of small. Actually, I don't even think, can I increase this? Yeah, make it a little more visible. Um, yeah. So you can kind of see it's not colored, it's not highlighted, so it's not a very pretty interface. So typically what I do is I'll just like copy all of this code and I'll just paste it into like some other type of file, and then I'll just go through it because then it's easier to read because it has like the syntax highlighting and stuff. So when it comes to actually looking for source code, this is actually where I got the majority of the source code for my threading system, at least at the high level. And then I would basically click out into the JDK. Oops. Actually, no, you want to do it in the link. So you can't click any of these. So you just remove the thread portion right here and then say Java Lang, and then you can have access basically to every single like thing in Java. So if you want to see anything on how Java handles longs, how it does math or whatever, this is like an excellent resource because it basically reaffirms that you're actually writing your source code correctly. So like for instance, do they have the ArrayList class? I have no idea what that source code is. But even like when it comes down to the ArrayList source code for creating lists in Java, I also kind of stole that from here. Um, so I definitely recommend you guys check this link out. Just like I said, type in the Java thread source code and you should be good. Let's go back. Thanks, sis. No problem. Just love to help people out and stuff. So we're just hanging out. I can just keep going on with this. Hopefully, I can get the video out for the exception system by today. It's kind of crazy. Like I filmed it twice actually. It's like an hour long, and it takes me like freaking 4 hours to edit a 1 hour video. Um, what am I at? Like, yeah, I'm at 12 minutes, so I've got a while to go. Um, but hopefully I can get it out today. If not, then it'll probably be tomorrow. It's just gonna be random. I've been trying to keep my uploads the same. Oh, can I post the link in the chat? Yeah, sure. HG open HJK. All right, so I post the link in the chat, so you can literally, like I said, just if you want to look at the threading source code, you can do that, or you can just like go out, and you don't even have to remove the thread. Like you can say Java, go all the way back to Java, and you can look at everything. You can look at their networking source code, you can look at their math code, their programming language code, their IO stuff. It's pretty awesome. Um, so yeah. But what was I talking about? Oh yeah, so I'm hopefully gonna try to get the that video out tomorrow. I've been trying to keep consistent uploads, but I've just been crazy busy the past couple of weeks, and so haven't really had the time to keep a consistent schedule. But I'm trying. Um, yeah. All right. So when it comes to like links and stuff, that's probably a good idea. Actually, I'm just gonna like post them in the chat if I have any links. Um, that'll probably be like the easiest way to do it. 'Cause my browser's pretty tiny. Can I increase it one more time? We do like 18. That's probably better. Also, what's the max what you call it? Um the max quality 480? Oh, that's terrible. Can I increase that somehow? Let me see if I can increase that. Settings, duration, fade. Yeah, I'm gonna have to like research a crap ton for how to do streams because obviously there's a lot of stuff that I really don't know what I'm doing. Bit rates 250. Isn't it already complaining about my bitrate being too high? Oh, it's the video resolution. Okay. Uh, yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, I checked this settings screen last stream too, and it I didn't find anything. So I'm gonna have to probably, I don't know, maybe it's the bit rate. You can let me know in the chat below. Um, I'm just not gonna change it. Yeah, I don't wanna break the stream again. Surprisingly not too bad. Okay. Um, that's good. Here. I was actually okay. Let me try to fix. Cannot resolve get OS timer parameters timer. Okay, so if I rerun that, I should. Oh crap! Wait a minute. I have to get the ordinal, which I keep freaking forgetting. So if I go to what is it? Enum, and then ordinal. So that's private. So what is it like a get ordinal? Okay. Also, too, guys, if you ever downloaded the Sharp programming language, I would not recommend doing that. Well, that's probably it's not exactly what I mean, but basically the builds that I put out for the various releases, they're pretty stable, but things change rapidly. So if you wanted to kind of test out the programming language, now this is kind of dangerous, but I'm going to show you guys how I actually build the programming language in the I go back to, yeah, in the actual project directory because I know like it's a huge project. So if you have Linux, it's really easy. If you have Windows, I mean, you can basically do the same thing. So like here, let me open up a file explorer and see if I can try it on Windows as well. So I'd recommend doing this. So as you guys know, I have a remastered branch, and the remastered branch is basically the main branch where I do all of my kind of work on in real time. So it's a pretty rapid development branch, so things change very quickly. But I do try to, whenever I commit, I usually have big breaks. And if I'm having big breaks, that means that I'm about to push a lot of code, and it's usually pretty stable. Streaming on Wi-Fi, surprisingly stable. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm using my Wi-Fi, and it's doing pretty good. It crapped out. It almost crapped out again when I tried to start the stream up in the beginning, but I guess it's fine now. Um, but if you guys want to run the project, the only thing that you're gonna need is you are gonna need G++. And if you've ever downloaded Sigwin, I think, is it Sigwin or MinGW? One of those, but you can open up a bash and you basically just need access to the G++ compiler. And if you say G++, you can literally just run the source code inside of build scripts. So the build scripts is basically the main file where I do, I update this regularly. So there's two types. Don't do this one because that's not the one you want. It's either x64 compile script or x64 or Linux debug compile script. And actually, I probably should just open it here. So if I go to, what is it, build scripts, x64 compile. So it's basically just like a bash file that contains the information for compiling a language. So you can do one of two things. You can build the compiler and the runtime engine, or the compiler and the speed profiler. Running the speed profiler will actually, now this code here is not actually updated. So if you try to run this, you're probably gonna get some errors. But if you uncomment both of these compiles are actually going to work. So if you want to like run the latest and greatest on the actual programming language, I never commit anything that's going to break the programming language. Like anytime when I commit stuff, it's always going to compile. You may get some seg faults here and there, but that's also rare because I don't have those anymore. But yeah, you can just run both of these in the actual console. So I'd recommend just copying it and then literally just going to the console, and if I do this, paste, wait, what? Oh, it copies it when okay, whatever, that's crazy. So yeah, you can just paste it. Now it says G++ command not found. That's because it's not added to my environment variables. So if you want to do that to actually have access to it, you can say environment variables, systems environment variables, and you can go to environment variables and do that stuff there. Um, so you can just add it there and you should be good. And you just want to make sure you add the folder path to where the G++ source code is at. And then when you run it in the console, it will actually find that executable, and then you can actually compile it. Oh, regards, you have to go. All right. See you, man. Um, Hopefully, I'm looking to do more streams. So hope you enjoyed this one. And we'll just, keep going from there. So keep going. Yeah. So this is like the main portion. And if you want to do the debug, this is what I use for debugging purposes. You really shouldn't have to use this because it's not really yeah, you shouldn't have to use that. So just run this file and you should be good. Also too, when it comes to installing the programming language, I'm eventually looking to add, I'm starting it now, but I'm starting to add some example code So if you guys are looking to kind of use the programming language, you can go to this examples folder, whoops, and you can actually see live examples in the programming language. And I'm actually probably going to, I don't know, how long should the stream go? I started at 6, so maybe we could cut it off at 7:30. That'd probably be good. So it says I have two other viewers. So if any of you guys have any questions, as always, put them in the comment section. Let's see. If I go back, did this actually end up ever compiling? Did I actually do it correctly? Or do I still have the busted code? I probably still have the busted code. Time, yeah. So tr dot gets underscore ordinal or dinal. There's a way to actually add full plugin support for your programming language. It's really complicated. Let me actually see if I can find the link for that. It's on the IntelliJ plugin support. Eventually, I do feel like adding that, but right now the language is changing so rapidly, it would just not make sense. But let's see, you can actually, no, that's not it. Yeah, I'll have to find that link. I'll most likely put that in a subsequent video. Support team. Yeah, I don't remember where that link was. I saw it a while ago, but basically you can add actual support for your language. So you can add in code completion and resolving of functions and basically all of the cool stuff that you can do in C++, where it actually gives you actual error lines and like the message for each of those. You can do all of that cool stuff at the JDK level without actually, even before your compiler runs. So like if you build plugin support for your language, what you'll end up having to do is basically write a high level compiler, and it's only just parsing your source code, right? So like if you make like a syntax error or something, then you'll get like an error right here. And then after you get through all of your syntax errors, then the plugin will actually then execute the compiler that you provide to it to actually compile the source code, and you can actually get real live lines. Now, I don't know how it actually processes that, because the way my compiler works is it literally just prints out to the console the line and column of where things are happening at. So I have to do some research. That's why I'm probably not gonna do it in the stream. But I have to do some research to see how exactly that works. I'm pretty interested to see how languages do that. I might have to add some specific support in the programming language to work with the IDE. But now it should work. So if I say time.getOrdinal, you should be able to get the OS time. Your programming language inspires me. Hey, that's great. Always happy to inspire new people to get into programming. Um, what would you, are you looking to actually build one, or are you just kind of hanging out and just kind of seeing how programming languages actually work? Because I know I have a couple viewers that are just kind of watching the channel just to kind of see what's going on and how computers actually work when it comes to running programming languages. It's always pretty interesting. Yeah, so now we just saw a live example actually too of me actually running the physical source code that is meant to run for the actual Raspberry Pi, but I'm actually compiling this on my PC because the language is able to be compiled on any platform. So this is just a quick way for me to do it. So typically I will just write a bunch of source code on my computer because I can type a lot faster, and then push it up to GitHub and then just pull it down basically. And yes, you like to make your own. That's awesome. I would definitely say the hardest thing out of everything is probably coming up with the name. I still haven't come up with a name for mine. I just use Sharp for now, but that's not the final name. But if you have any questions, you can always put them in the comment section, and I'd be happy to answer any. Let's see. Another stack. Uh, you would like to make your own. Is the language interpreted? Yes, the language is interpreted. Hello, MC Dutter. Duder? Is that how you pronounce it? What's up? We're just hanging out. I might be cutting the stream off a little soon. I might stay on a little bit longer though. Seems like I'm getting a little bit more viewers. But yeah, let's see. Less time. So for those of you who are new, we're basically just kind of going over the drone project. I'm not really doing anything on the actual programming language. However, if you guys are looking to have me do anything on the programming language, like if you were wondering how would someone implement a certain feature in a programming language, as long as it can be done in under 30 minutes, then I would definitely be happy to do that. So let me know if that's something you guys are curious about. Title, speedrun, controller, UI. Right, so I'm gonna actually add a preferences file. So shared preferences dot sharp. If any of you guys have ever programmed in Android, you pretty much know what this is. Shared preferences is basically a way for you to save data to files. So mod, it's gonna be RNCS preferences. I spelled that wrong. Class shared. I spelled it wrong again. I always forget the E. Do you have an object serialization API similar to Java's IO serializable? I currently don't. That is something I'm actually looking to add. I actually think, go to GitHub. I think that might be on, if it's not, I'm actually going to add that to my list right now for the roadmap. Let me see if it's actually on there. Support generic, support regular functions, reflection, closures, string compression, constants, file management. Yep. All right. So if I take this, zoom in, Control plus. So to actually, if you guys have ever been curious about kind of what I've been up to with the programming language, you can always head over to here. It's actually one of the items in my to-do for the virtual machine where I can add serialization and deserialization. So let's see. Yeah, so I have a bunch of various different things that I'm looking to add, and I've still not even updated this list. I've just been slammed with tons of work and different things. Let's see. Subscribed. Oh, awesome. Thanks for the sub. I really appreciate that. Um, MC Duder. Yeah. GD4SH3R says, by the way, you have added inline assembly, right? I think I saw a bit of that. Yes, I actually have. So it's a bit weird in my programming language. So when it comes to assembly code, it's not real assembly code because I'm just not that smart. No, it's really difficult to add in true real assembly code into an actual programming language. It's basically assembly for the virtual machine. So if I go over here to, where is it at? Lib support. You know what? I'm not even going to try to do that. I'm just going to say ASM this. Yeah, so if I go to like a random file console, for instance, so I have a function called snprintf. This is actually used by the string class to print data to the console. It's a bunch of assembly or assembly code that's for the actual virtual machine. And I have specific syntax for that. I haven't gone over that syntax yet. I've been waiting on that because I've been doing some stuff with assembly, and yeah, there's going to be a video on that later on though. And GD4SHDR says, yeah, I see why adding real assembly would be difficult. Yeah, it's not easy. Not to mention when it comes to actually adding that, I mean, the user doesn't really understand how the programming language is going to work. Like, for instance, these values are not on any real stack. It's like an imaginary stack. So it's going to be really difficult for the user to interface with the programming language because they can't do like I'm doing, where I'm just saying, load this format value into the EGX register. It's just not that simple. So if I were to even go and look in the JIT source code for load local, I'm actually gonna go there now. Let's actually see. Now the code is broken. It's not the it's not the exact code that's gonna need to be ran, but you can just actually see how complicated it is. If I do a search for load local, is it not? Oh, I'm in the wrong file. Is it this one? Yeah. All right. Load local. So you can see here, like for load local, I basically I'm doing this basically. So I put a comment here to like kind of help understand what's going on. So I'm saying register at whatever is equal to frame pointer plus whatever. So when I actually access that variable, and where was that at actually? I don't even remember. But when I actually access that variable, I have to gain access to the current thread, and then gain access to the frame pointer value to access this field here, and then do a bunch of other crap to like move the data. Like this is a helper function that moves the data from the frame pointer into this current register. So it's definitely not that easy. But if you did want to do that, you can just use the sharp native bridge. So I haven't gone over that yet. That is something I'm looking to go over later on in a different video. But if you wanted to write assembly code, all you have to do is just create a native function. Say native define foo, and then in there you can literally just write your native C code. So like I actually have an example here. So like an example of printing a message, this would be how you'd actually write native code. You say native define print message, you load the library of hello, and then you print the message. And then literally in C++, like I don't know why languages make this so difficult, but in my language, it's a lot easier to interface with C++. All you have to do is just say scope begin main because it's inside of the main module. And then you say print message, void print message because it doesn't return anything, and you can just do whatever. You just end the scope and that's it. And then you include this generated code. So in here, there's a bunch of generated code to actually do whatever you need to do. And actually, let me see, can I actually go to an example? So there's this native mapping file. All this stuff is generated, by the way, but there's this native file or native mapping file where you can literally call any function in the entire programming language. It's like if I want to, I don't know, read a character from the console and not write that code myself, but like use the high level source code, I can do that. So pretty interesting. Um, GD4 SHDR says furthermore, you have added dynamic library linkage. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much what this is. Using a DLL. They also said, well, I do not know much about the assembly language, but you seem to know what you're doing. I halfway know what I'm doing. I halfway know what I'm doing. I'm not. You guys don't have to be a super genius to um, do this because I'm definitely not the smartest guy, the smartest tool in the shed. See, I'm not even. Yeah. um, yeah, I mean it's pretty much just years and years of hard work and just kind of trial and error, figuring things out, lots of reading. That's kind of how I got to the point to where the languages. They also said, have you added reflection? I'm wondering how someone will go about doing that. I have not. So in the support library, I've been neglecting this folder for ages, but there is a reflection folder, and I can kind of explain hypothetically how you do it, but I still don't know what the hell. Like, I know how to do it. The problem is not how to do it. It's not that I can do it, it's how to do it, if that makes any sense. So you're basically going to have to create a reflect object, and you're going to basically pass in the object that you want to reflect, and that's going to set this reflection object. And then you're going to have your fields and your methods, and then you're basically going to have an operator array. So you're going to basically say, you're going to create a, let's say, new string, right? And we're going to assign this new string of MSG. It's going to be equal to that, and we can say, I don't know, hi. And again, this is hypothetical. This stuff does not work. So if you try to look in my source code, there's not really anything here. But I'd basically say ref is equal to new reflect object, and we'll pass in the MSG. And then you'll say ref at, and then data. Then you can assign that equal to, I don't know, something else. And then basically you would be accessing the data field that's going to be inside of the string class. So if I go in the string, you can see there's a data field. Now this is entirely possible. Literally all I can do, or all I'd have to do to make this entire source code work in the reflection system, is literally just create a virtual machine function that connects to a function in the runtime. And I literally have a function called resolve field, which returns you an object, which you just pass in the name and you can just resolve that field. But I'd have to make sure that I have like type checking. So the reason why it's not built yet is because I don't have yet the ability to say if ref at data is and then underscore int 8 array. So I don't have a way yet. As you can see, it's not highlighted. This is something I'm looking to add in like the next couple of weeks to the programming language. It's fairly easy. Um, you know what, actually, would you guys be up for seeing how to do that now? Basically saying how to check to see whether or not a piece of data is a type. If so, then I can do it right on stream. Otherwise, I'll just make a video about it if that works. Um, they also said, I see I haven't made it that far in the series. I'm still at the parser, so I will not know how to make it use a VM. Yeah, it's the series is pretty long. We're just getting started. We haven't even gotten to the compiler portion of it. MC Tutor says make a video. Okay. All right, so I'll make a video about it. So I will add this feature in like the next couple of weeks. And then once that feature is in, then I can finally start working on the reflection system, because I can't do reflection if I don't know what the heck the types are. So that's definitely something I need to add. GD4, SH3. Yeah, so yeah, I agree. All right. Yeah, so that's pretty much how I would implement reflection at the high level, and then obviously there's a lot more to it, but that's what I do. I don't know if some of you guys have seen, but the compiler is pretty huge. So when it comes to actually building the compiler, it seems like it's a lot. It's not that many functions. Like when it comes to, like, we already did the pre-processing stage. There's the post-processing, which basically calls, like, what is this, 7 functions. And then there's, once you get past the pre-processing and post-processing, 90% of the compiler is already finished. And literally there's, like, these parts are pretty easy. Like, for instance, if I try to compile a function, let's see if I can go to the actual source code. When I actually compile the methods, you just go section by section. Where's the actual? Oh, it's here. Okay. Compile a function, and then where's compile block? Yeah. So when it comes to compiling a block, I have like some control path logic, but it gets pretty easy once you get down to actually compiling everything because you just have a list of statements, and then you just kind of go down the list of each of those. NC Tutor says, what other projects are you working on? The only other project besides the programming language that I'm working on actively is the, um, it's the, what is it called? The Project Dragonfly. Yes, let me see if I can find that. Project Dragonfly is, for those who aren't familiar, it's a project that's being used as a use case for the programming language. So it's basically a bicopter drone, source code for building a bicopter drone in 100% of the programming language. So I've done some research before, and apparently there isn't there isn't really a way for there isn't code where somebody actually built a drone from start to finish. Like everything that I've found has just been pre-built stuff. So this is like 100% custom code. And I have like this entire networking interface where I talk from the controller to the actual drone. So it's pretty cool. Can you send a link to the repos again? Sure. Um, so it is, instead of Android FCD, it's Sharp. So I'm going to put that in chat. That's the actual link to the actual repo. We can check out the language, and this is the only other major project that I'm working on. It's pretty complex, so I'm probably going to be working on this one for the next year, and then I'll probably move on to something else. Another thing that's cool about the drone project is, like, here's the UI that I built for it. Um, I actually have some source code. If any of you are curious, I figured out a way to DDoS my router, which is pretty hilarious. I basically just use these Wi-Fi chips, and you can literally just like DDoS an entire router because it works on the same Wi-Fi frequency. So I was able to like kick my own Wi-Fi off the network, basically. So all that, like all the source code for like sending data across the network and the UI stuff is all going to be in the controller source code. Like I have like this UI folder with a bunch of stuff. It's Android based, so if it looks a little weird, it's based off of my experience in doing Android stuff. Uh, Compile alias. Oh, okay, yeah, so I was back here. All right, so I'm gonna just continue with this. Share preferences. Quest data. So now basically what I'm going to do is build a class where I can actually save data to a source file. So I'm actually going to copy the source code that I use for processing requests and just like use that as a blueprint for saving data to a file dynamically. This is going to allow me to basically have saved settings in the drone project. Also, by the way, I know I don't have a camera. I just moved like a week ago, and there's a crap ton of boxes, so that's why I don't have a camera right now. Plus, I need to get a actual camera webcam and like a mic and other stuff. I know the audio is probably terrible, but yeah, that's why I don't have a camera. Let's see. So I have items, request item. So I'm gonna rename this. What should I name it? Preference item. Forgot the E again. So it's gonna be a key and a value. Preference item. A list of prefs, Prefs. So I have a list of prefs, and it's going to be a preference item. The indexing function is going to take a preference item. Oh, it's just both. Okay. Preference item, and it's going to say whether or not the keys match. I don't need this anymore. Actually, need to add the source code. GD for SH3R says, I would like you to know that I really enjoy the tutorial series. I'm trying to make my own programming language for a while, and I have been wondering how to implement certain features. Yeah, there's a lot of resources out there for building a programming language, but I just feel like it's really scattered around. Like when I started this several years ago, it was really difficult to like ask the right questions. One thing that I learned, and like this is a tip for you guys, if you're actually like looking to build features, like a perfect example would be, I don't know, how to build reflection in a programming language. And I know typically, like when it comes to development, you usually just type it in Stack Overflow. You don't want to do that. You don't type the exact question in. You'll you'll get a lot better results if you, instead of asking the direct question, ask questions around it. So instead of asking, how to build a reflection system, maybe ask how do, I don't know, how are fields accessed in a programming language or something like that. And then you'll basically hop around that question until you get enough information that it answers your original question, which is how to build a reflection system. And literally, that's what I've done for the past 5 years. Like, I've never been able to ask a straight question online and get a direct answer. It's always been hopping around. He also said, once I had first found the series, I was so happy that someone out here had the same interest, especially people, since people like to say there's no point in making. Oh yeah, I've gotten that a ton. Like everyone always asks, like, what's the purpose? What's the use case? I mean, there's different ways of doing things in life, and it's not always about whether something's better, but sometimes it's just about being different. And that's kind of what I've gone through with my programming language. Instead of trying to make something that's better than another language, just maybe do something a little different of a take. And then that could appeal to, certain people, and things have their own use cases. So um, I don't want to ever think this is a waste of time. I'll be watching this series until the end, watching this language evolve, and it would disappoint me if you were to quit. I don't think I'm gonna quit, but I do need breaks often, or from time to time. Not often. Um, that's why I took last week off because I was just slammed. I didn't really have that much energy. But I plan to finish this entire series in its completion. Like, once the last video is up, to be honest, I don't know what I'm gonna do after this. That's kind of what I'm battling right now. Because even though we're not done with the programming language yet, and I haven't shown all the features, I just don't know what I'm gonna do after this. That's been bugging me in the past couple weeks. Um, Continue development, I'll always be watching. Yeah, of course. And many tutorials are either not finished all over the place. Yeah, Yeah, I try to keep things consistent. I try to stick around the same blocks of code, and a lot of stuff goes on behind the scenes, like with these videos. I know the quality of the videos sometimes are pretty trash. They're not the best, but I try to make sure that like literally certain videos I'll like just have fixed a bug, a major bug that will end up making the quality of the code a lot better. So that's what I really focus on, is making sure that I give you guys the best code, where that way, because I know a lot of tutorials and I'm not trying to shit on anybody or anything, but I do know sometimes they'll film something and when you actually try to implement it yourself, it doesn't really work. So I try to make sure that I do things in the best way possible. So that way, when you actually try to implement it, it actually works. So not to say that, other people are doing bad things. It's just sometimes it happens. Um, I feel like this should be called something else. I don't need this. I feel like I need to create a function. Define, what is it going to be? Commits. So I should create a commit. Then file pointer is equal to new file, and it's going to be name. Whenever you create a pref, you're going to need to have a name. It's going to be a string. Show preferences. To pass in a file name, string. One thing that I want you guys to realize too when it comes to programming languages is literally there's a lot of stuff that we take for granted that I really didn't realize, and we're gonna start to see this. We haven't seen it yet because we've mostly been focusing on the virtual machine, but there's a crap ton of stuff that we take for granted. Like literally, here's a perfect example. If I create an int right now, call it num, right? And let's say it's an int class, and I assign that num to 10, right? That makes sense. Now let's say I create a function called define foo, right? It's a terrible name, but I'm just trying to show you guys, I'm trying to make a point here. And let's say it takes a in, which is a var. Literally, now this is technically the scope of a function, so I'm just gonna do this. So I'm gonna say foo of what did I call it? Num. I have such a terrible memory. So I can call this function num, there's a problem. It's an int class, but it works, right? Like if I call this foo and pass this num integer, this is also a number, and I can do stuff on that number. But this doesn't just inherently work. Like literally, what it's doing is the compiler is actually seeing that this is an int class, and then if I go to the actual source code, there is where is it? What is it called? Primitives. And there's a bunch of functions that the primitive class uses. And where is it? Is it called like value or something? It's one of these. Yeah, it literally realizes that this is an integer class and it calls the get value function. So the compiler is actually doing the conversion for us from the data structure to the actual numeric value, which is what we want, which is the var version. So it's little stuff like that. And like even if I say hello, strings in the programming language aren't actually strings. So if I say str and I assign this equal to, whatever, the type of this is not going to be string. The type of this is going to be an underscore int 8 array because it's a char array. So that's going to be the default value. But if this foo takes a string, the compiler is going to resolve this and say, oh, this is an int 8, this is a string, those types don't match. But you can just do this. Say new string and pass it that value and then pass that value into foo. So like those just little things add up and the compiler ends up doing a ton of those little things just to make programming a lot easier. before. H3R says, I have the same problem, having trouble getting inspired to code. I don't know what to code. Um, just pick something. Don't get too trapped on thinking that there's one specific thing that you need to do. That's one of the problems I had early on. When it comes to building a programming language, you don't want to try to think like, oh my God, I have to build this ginormous platform. How do I do this? You have to think of it in bite-sized pieces because otherwise the programming language will never get done. And you might end up actually over-engineering the programming language if you try to tackle it from a big picture view instead of tackling it from a little picture, adding up to a big picture. So I would definitely recommend just like, for instance, hop from one section to another. So when I started programming the language, I started out and I said, all right, I need a virtual machine. And instead of just saying, oh my God, I have to build this ginormous virtual machine that, does file management and, has its thread management system and all this other stuff, I just said, all right, I need a way to process an executable. And then in there, I then said, okay, well, how do you process an executable? I started looking at Java and, what's the format of a file and, just going through that. And that's kind of built up to the actual massive amount of code of where it is now. They also said, by the way, I have a question. If you built the Sharp compiler in Sharp, how do you get the actual output of the executable exe file? Is the language interpreted? The language is, yes, it is interpreted. So the way that the language works is actually, if I, let me see, if I say bin, yeah, so if I go here, this is what's called the ODF file, and I'm just going to repeat it because I know some people are new here and they don't know what this is. So the ODF file is short for an object dump file, and this is a high-level representation of the actual executable that's being generated. But the executable that's being generated is just a bunch of random characters. So once you get to the garbage collection side, you're going to see, so if I make this a text file, here's the actual executable that's generated. So it has, a byte at the very beginning, it has SEF, and then it has 4 characters which represent what's called the digital signature. And then it has the name of the executable, and then just a bunch of other crap. I mean, after that, I have no idea what comes next because I can't read this. It's just a bunch of randomly placed characters that represent some arbitrary file that we create. So the beauty of building your own programming language is you don't have to, conform to actually building a true executable because you're going to have nightmares doing that. Trust me, doing it this way is a lot easier because that abstracts the programming language away from running on a machine. And currently at the standing, if you follow the tutorial series from start to finish, you're going to have a programming language that is almost as fast as Java. It's not faster than Java, but it's getting damn close, and I'm making this programming language faster and faster every week because I'm working on it constantly. So as the channel evolves and as the channel, as I make more videos, the language is actually getting faster as I'm showing you all of the source code. So that's pretty cool. I also said, so implementation of implicit conversions needed. Yeah, so when it comes to processing this, I have in the runtime system a executable. So it's right here. So it takes this, random file and it basically processes this executable. And first I check to see if the file exists. I read all of the text and I put it into a file buffer. And then I validate the authenticity by checking the digital signature. All of this stuff, by the way, the Java virtual machine does. That's where I got all the source code from. So Java checks the authenticity of the file by looking at the digital signature, and then it just reads everything. Let me actually see if I can find, give me a sec. I'm going to see if I can find the format of my file. I took a picture of this a while ago. I don't remember where the heck I put it. See if I can find that. Oh, did I delete that picture? Oh, that's a shame. Did I, is this it? Oh, no, okay. All right. Yeah, so this is the basic format of the file. So I went over how to actually set this up in a video already. So if you want to, this is completely arbitrary. You can do whatever you want, but this is the format that I have. So you have like the signature, which is represented as the key. If you don't have this key, then you can't run the file. The data offset to offset the file to ensure that it's an actual authentic file. The manifest, which represents like all of the metadata. So it's like a header. If you've ever sent data over the network, like to do, I don't know, a request to get like an image or something, this is like the header portion of that, where it explains how big the file is, all that stuff. The symbol table represents all of your classes, your functions, everything else. The code section is the actual virtual machine source code that's going to run the actual program, and it's the largest section of the executable. And then finally, you have your metadata, which is used by the exception system to, show what went wrong, basically. That's kind of how it works. Um, it said, can I see some example of bytecode, intermediate code? Yeah, so that is located in, so I'm gonna try to do like a split screen of this. So I'm gonna go do a search for ASM. All right. So for instance, we have this math code here. And if I go to the grammar, no, it's not in there. It's in the runtime opcode. So I have an opcode header file, which basically contains all of the source code. So I have this data structure called opcode. And by the way, I did a full video on this where I explain, I literally go through, it's like an hour long, it's really long, but I go through every single instruction and I explain each instruction and why I need it and like why I have it in the virtual machine. Now, some of these I don't remember why the hell I added them in the first place because this was like years ago. But for the most part, I went through all of them. And basically, I built this builder class, which is a really nice way to, so like we go here, each opcode has a specific class format. And the class format is basically a way for you to classify the format of the actual executable. So each executable has a basic 32-bit layout. And in order for your programming language, by the way, to be supported on a wide range of systems, you need to have a 32-bit layout for your opcodes because if you only have a 64-bit layout, you can't run it on smaller devices. For instance, like a Raspberry Pi. So I have a 32-bit layout and each class holds various different informations. They have different limits for each operand. And I use that in the actual opcode CPP file to build each instruction. And that then abstracts away the formatting of each instruction. So literally as I'm like creating this in my compiler, like we haven't gone over this in the actual tutorial series yet. And my laptop's about to die, so let me get a charger. We haven't gone over that yet, but I'm going to show you guys this for the first time now. So if I go here to the front end, or no, it's the back end compiler. What is it called? I'm just going to search for move I. So here's an example. So here's an example of, actually, can I show a better example of this? Okay, yeah, so here's an example of me doing some random crap. I don't know, what is this function? Set up the main method. Okay. This is just doing some stuff to set up the main method. But you can see here that I'm adding a bunch of intermediate representation code, and I'm using this opcode builder to abstract away the format of each instruction. So all that I have to do is say I want to add this instruction to the actual code holder to be executed, and I don't have to care about the formatting. So I recommend doing it this way because if you don't, then you can make mistakes by, for instance, this one is a double-sized instruction. So it takes two opcodes in order to hold the entire piece of data. So literally, I'm calling the exact same function, but this one takes a int array of a buffer, whereas, let's see, move G takes a, or actually no, that's wrong. Move our move takes just a single instruction. So it's just a nice way to where you don't have to care about how many, bytes that you need to allocate for each instruction. It's just really easy. Um, they say, can you see the source code for the Java VM? Yeah, so let me actually find that link again. So I did a search for this in the last stream, or I think it was in this stream. So if I type in Java source code, this is literally, and I'm gonna put this in the, I'm gonna put this in the chat. Oops, I just, oh crap, I lost the page. Hold on, give me a second. Nope, that's not it. Oh crap. Oh, did the stream stop? Oh, it didn't. Okay, yeah, my computer's like flipping out right now. I don't know what the heck's going on. Um, yeah, here's the file. So yeah, that just really okay. This is basically representing the Java Virtual Machine source code. So this is physical source code from Oracle. It's the JDK8 source code, and this is coming from the actual multi-threading platform. Now, I don't have access to the Java Virtual Machine's physical source code, but this platform or this link is what I use to actually access all of the source code at the high level. And this is what's been allowing me to build my entire standard library. Because as you can see, my standard library is huge. There's a lot of stuff in here. I have like all of my, IO stuff and everything. So if we go here, you can literally remove, and I know this, like, it's hard to see because it's kind of small, but if you remove the thread part of the link, you can literally back out and you can see all of the source code for the Java, programming language. And I can go even further. If I remove lang, I can also see more stuff. So like I can see all the source code for the IO portion. So like input output, like file stuff. I could see all the source code for Java's networking library. There's security stuff, like everything. So it's pretty awesome. And I've been using this constantly to just like build source code. It's pretty cool. So that link is, uh, okay. Yeah, that link is in the description below. So if you guys want to, or in the chat, so if you want to check it out. Um, but I'm probably going to stop the stream, so I'm going to go until 8:10. So any final questions that you guys have, definitely shoot them my way, and I'll be doing more streams as the channel progresses, so definitely look out for that. Hopefully, it'll be a lot smoother the next time because this one was kind of rough in the beginning. So any final things you guys would like for me to show you, just let me know. Uh, GD says, how is the signature created? The signature is completely random. So literally, where we go back. So this digital signature here, um, this is defined inside of my executable. And the way I came up with it is I just did, that's literally it. Like it's just random. So it doesn't mean anything. Just pick three. So it looks like it's three. It's actually not four. Um, well, there's a file signature. But just pick three random numbers and let that be your file signature. And that's just a dynamic way for you to ensure that this is in fact an authentic file for your programming language. So it can be whatever. I'm pretty sure Java, the Java virtual machine, their stuff's random too. Like it doesn't mean anything. So for class files, the Java developers just picked a random set of bytes. Like they don't mean anything. So you guys can just pick whatever you want. Um, And I also have, wait, so let me go back here. So I have a couple different types. I have a file signature. This is a way for you to basically signify that this is in fact a sharp file. And then this is the confirmation, or this is the key portion of the actual source file. It's just a basic way for you to compare and make sure that you have everything. One thing that I will say though is that as you're building these like these define statements for all these various different sections. Like I have a data section in my source code or in my executable. I have a string section, a symbol section. Those you need to make sure that you do not step on your own feet, because if you don't, you will have issues when it comes to processing the executable. I've actually run into this problem in the past where you think you're inside of a different section and you're actually not. So just make sure that all of these values do not touch each other. The only way that this will be acceptable is it depends on where those checks lie. But honestly, it's just best to be safe and just have each section have its own unique value. Close out this, close out this. Back to the project. So name is equal to file name. Prefs indexing function. Oh yeah, okay, so I was creating a function for this. So I was creating a commit function. I need to import std.io um, file pointer dot write, and I'm gonna say generates generates um, what should it be called? Generate format? Oh, that's a bad name. Maybe pref string. Yeah, that's probably better. Right, pref string. All right, so one more minute. So any final questions before I head out? So I need to change this. So it's equal to null, then I set this. By the way, if any of you are wondering, this is a getter. So this basically allows you, when you access an actual field, instead of accessing this value, you're actually calling get underscore pref string, and that's a function that's generated by the compiler. All right, guys. So that's gonna be it for today. Definitely had fun hanging out. So I'm gonna cut the stream off here and we'll just continue on. So as I mentioned before, there will be a video, probably not tonight. I mean, it's pretty late and I haven't even eaten dinner yet. Most likely tomorrow, there's gonna be a video talking about how to build an exception system. So it's gonna be a pretty complex video. So definitely look out for that. And we'll just go from there. So thanks everybody for hanging out. I will see you all next time.